I'm a very casual comic book and manga reader. When I was younger, I was absolutely obsessed with the imaginative and innovative worlds that graphic novels could create. Nowadays, I'll pick up a story from time to time, depending on what mood I am in. This has all changed dramatically from a single manga that I read 2 weeks ago, and that is Kagurabachi. The first time I saw Kagurabachi was in November of 2024 when I was away on Thanksgiving break in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I visited one of my local comic book stores and it was marked as released this week, so it sparked my interest and I decided to pick it up. I ended up never reading it. Flash forward to 2 weeks ago and it is all I can think about. It has relit a spark in me that I forgot was there. I'm interested in manga again.
So sick.
Let me just get my paws in there.
So much so that I think I've gone a little bit crazy. This is all the manga that I've read in the past 2 weeks. And I've even gone out today and bought 4 new volumes on top of that. I've done a lot of reading. Now, I have read through the first 2 volumes of Kagurabachi, which at this very moment is all that's released in English. The story isn't revolutionary by any extent of the word, but it's an experience meant to be enjoyed. Many of the key story beats are present, but it is the writing, themes, and art that excellently capture a compelling story that hooks you from the very beginning. All of these characters in this book are, I would say, pretty generic, but I feel like they all contrast each other perfectly, making it feel like very unique in the way they mesh together. And it matters more about the way the characters are interacting rather than the story itself. Specifically, I really found this first villain in this arc to be super compelling. He's not just evil to be evil. He has a unique set of motives. When he's in the bath, those scenes are just so cool. It's like very like Quentin Tarantino, like Kill Bill aesthetic, especially that one scene where he slashes everybody in a single panel. That was so cool. I just think all of the characters that have shown up so far just complement each other so well. And I know that the story has been memed quite a lot, especially that first chapter and that one specific panel. You know that panel. It's not about that specific mold that he's trying to fill. It's about how it contrasts with the other characters and how that character interacts with the society that is built in this story. I don't know why, it just feels like the author gets what fans of the medium want. The story feels like it's what I like of like a tame Chainsaw Man mixed with like the sword styles of Demon Slayer and then like loosely based on a Quentin Tarantino film. In my opinion, the art and paneling just feels modern. Feels like he's watched a lot of film and he knows what he's trying to capture. Each chapter so far has felt unique, and it takes those typical story structures and then tries to subvert them in very subtle ways that just feel satisfying. Now, Kagurabachi is clearly a revenge story. The revenge story is a very typical story structure that is used in shonen manga, and can be quite predictable and linear. They are very straightforward stories where you know exactly what they're going to be before you read them. Because the reader already knows what's going to happen in these stories, it makes it very difficult to add mystery or intrigue in your story because the reader already knows what's going to happen. In this story, it evolves and moves in a different direction. Now, typically in these stories, the villains are the most hated and evil people in the entire world, and they have no redeeming qualities. They are pure evil, and that is the main character's drive to defeat them. Now, this story is a little bit more loose and flexible to its story beats. We are both chasing the stolen swords and the sorcerers. These two entities are not the same thing, though they overlap. The main character must make decisions. One is to defeat and save the world, while the other is to take back something that was stolen from him. And keep in mind, this is only 2 volumes. It's still going to grow from here. Once we get to volume 5, even volume 10, the story will grow and mold to be something unique in its own. And that's how I feel about it.
So I just quickly wanted to talk about Sojo. Yes, this guy on the front cover, and his complete obsession with the blades. Typically in these stories, our villain, Sojo, will have a completely contradictory opinion to that of Chichiro. What this story does completely different than a lot of other stories is they are both actually right. Think about that for a second. These blades that they're having this ideological difference in are both used for mass destruction and are weapons and are for time of war, like Sojo is saying, but also Chichiro is trying to fulfill what his dead father has said and to protect them and keep them away from people and using them as weapons.
And how they both admire Kunishige for polarly opposite reasons. His character is not a complete antecedent though, so his approach complicates Chichiro's beliefs because Sojo is not purely evil, just follows different ideals. It helps that the dialogue is masterfully woven together, allowing the conversation to flow between the two characters. This is my favorite set of dialogue. This story actively acts against one-dimensional character tropes. Chichiro's character was taken as another edgy and brooding character stemming from his loss. Though his character has been developed immensely, I don't think his character has done a complete 180. Yes, his personality is backed with rage and grief, which is understandable from the circumstances of the story. He has always been a serious character. This framework was set in place from the very first chapter, back when he was living a happy life with his father. He is shown off as serious and calm compared to the traits of his father, who is more bombastic. He is a caring character and takes the role of a caretaker for his father, a characteristic that makes a resurgence when he meets Char. And at the end of the day, I am just excited to read more, and I can't wait for volume 3 and 4 to come out. I think the future is pretty bright for Shonen Jumps with other hit series like Dandadan in addition to Kagurabachi. I also just read Gachiakuda, which also has a very unique and fantastic story and super cool art. It is very, very unique. It is super compelling, and I cannot wait for this to get new volumes as well.
Look at that. There's also a poster.
Now, is it just me, or does this look like Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen? Just me?